our guests will enjoy the traditional warmth and trademark Pakistani hospitality, and we wish all of them a spiritually rewarding yatra. On the bilateral front, let me note that 11th round of political consultations between Pakistan and Switzerland was held in Islamabad on 12th November. Ambassador Nageli, who led the Swiss delegation, also called on Foreign Secretary Suhail Mahmood. The Foreign Secretary also received Permanent Secretary Matthew Rycroft of UK Home Office during the week. In the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, India continues with its reprehensible policy of oppression, harassment and state terrorism against innocent Kashmiris. Pakistan strongly condemns the extrajudicial killing of Kashmiris by Indian occupation forces in recent weeks, including the martyrdom of 9 Kashmiris in last 2 days. At least 30 Kashmiris have been extrajudicially killed in fake encounters and so-called cordon and search operations since 1st October 2021. You would have noticed strong voices from within IIOJK and abroad on these continuing senseless and barbaric actions of Indian occupation forces being committed with complete impunity in flagrant violation of international human rights and humanitarian laws. It is repugnant that in many instances, even the mortal remains of martyred Kashmiris are not being handed over to their families for religious rites. We salute the Kashmiris who remain resolute in their just struggle for self-determination in the face of this brutal illegal occupation that is evidently increasingly alienating the Kashmiri people from India. India must realize the futility of the military approach. Jammu and Kashmir dispute has to be resolved in accordance with the relevant resolutions of the UN Security Council and wishes of the Kashmiri people. Pakistan will continue to provide all possible support for the realization of this objective. We are also deeply concerned by the rising trend of violence against minorities, particularly Muslims, in India, and the increasing constraints on religious freedom. Pakistan condemns the restrictions imposed on offering Friday prayers, vandalization of mosques, attacks against Muslims offering prayers, and sacrilege of Muslim places of worship. Detention of hundreds of activists under draconian laws for raising voice against widespread human rights violations of minorities in India has attracted global attention. We call on the international community, particularly the United Nations and relevant human rights and humanitarian organizations, to fulfill their responsibilities to stop the rising Islamophobia and violent attacks against minorities, particularly Muslims in India, and ensure their safety and security and the protection of their places of worship. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan rejects the US State Department's arbitrary and selective assessment under a US domestic legislation on religious freedom. The designation of Pakistan as a country of particular concern is completely against the realities on the ground and raises serious doubts about the credibility of this exercise. Such subjective designations do not contribute towards promoting the cause of religious freedom worldwide. Pakistan and US have been constructively engaging on the subject at the bilateral level, a fact regrettably overlooked by the US. Pakistani society is multi-religious and pluralistic with a rich tradition of interfaith harmony. Religious freedom and protection of the rights of minorities are guaranteed by our Constitution and ensured through a range of legislative, policy and administrative measures. Furthermore, the glaring omission of India, where the RSS, BJP regime and their leaders openly disregard religious freedom and discriminate against minority communities in an institutional manner, is unfortunate and puts the credibility of the US report into question. State complicity in organized violence against the Muslim minority in India is a matter of record. It is no secret that attacks by cow vigilantes and mob lynching of Indian Muslims take place regularly and with complete impunity for the perpetrators. Systematic demonization, dispossession, marginalization, and targeted violence against Muslims in Hindutva-inspired India has become commonplace. The findings and recommendations of the US Commission on International Religious Freedom, as well as the US congressional hearings on the maltreatment of minorities in India and the violation of religious freedom, including in the Muslim majority